Hello there. Otto here. I'm delighted to welcome you to this special webinar where my friends Emma from With Otto and Yuri from Apron will show you how to transform your bookkeeping practice in just 60 minutes. As someone who spends his days helping with bank reconciliation, I can assure you the automation tips they're about to share are absolutely brilliant. Grab a cuppa and enjoy.
Okay, morning everyone. Nice to see you all with us. So over the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to be looking at 4 ways in which you can streamline and automate your bookkeeping process. I see this as your blueprint for running an automated bookkeeping process, and this is what we follow ourselves in our own practice. So we'll be covering bank rules in Xero, getting the most out of Apron, and then we'll also be introducing automated bank reconciliation and a bot that you can use for that. If you have any questions as they come up, just pop them in the chat, and Yuri and I will go through those at the end. Yuri, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, thanks, Emma. Hi everyone, my name is Yuri. I'm one of the product leads in Apron, specifically leading the Apron Capture product, which we launched earlier in 2024. And Apron overall is like all things expense management tool, allowing you to pay your suppliers, manage your expenses, and also do the bookkeeping, which is all like the important parts, so to capture invoices and receipts and to automate data entry into your accounting systems like Xero QuickBooks. That's me.
Okay, and I'm Emma. I am co-founder of With Otto, which is a bank reconciliation bot. I'm also joined behind the scenes by Stuart, who's my co-founder and the developer of it, and he's here in the chat for if there are any more technical questions that I won't be able to answer. We also run a bookkeeping and accountancy practice called the Number Ninja. We've been running that 8 years now. That is, we're a very tech-minded firm, and we've used this blueprint that we're going to be going through today. We've used that to really automate our bookkeeping process. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is Xero bank rules. So I will be concentrating on Xero, but I am aware that there are similar features that are available in both QuickBooks and Sage. So even if you're not using Xero, hopefully you will be able to take some of the concepts away and apply those to whatever tool you're using. So with bank rules, if you're not using these already, they are great ways of entering information where you don't need receipts. So these might be things like bank interest, sales from Stripe, we use that a lot, dividend payments, salary payments, payments to HMRC, payouts from Stripe to the bank, anything that is happening regularly, but where you wouldn't have a bill or an invoice for. So yeah, we use those a lot, and yeah, they're a great way of not having to type things in, and they're there ready for you to reconcile. So I'm just going to share my screen and go through a little bit in Xero. So if you could just add, brilliant, thank you, Yuri. Okay, so this will be familiar to all of us. We've got the Xero Bank rec screen here, and yeah, if you're not using rules at the moment, then this might not look familiar to you. But once you have the rules set up, and I'll show you in a moment how to do that, when they then match something from the bank statement, you automatically get the OK button here. So it's automatically creating that spend money, that save money, the transfer, whatever it is that you set the rule up to do. So you can then just click OK. Bank rules really come into their own if you are using automated bank reconciliation later as well. So yeah, so they automatically appear on the bank rec screen as they would if it was an invoice, if it was a bill that was matching. To set one up, the easiest way of doing this is from the bank reconciliation screen. And if you go to the options drop down up here, so we're going to do this one for a bank fee, because obviously we don't get paperwork for bank fees. These are regular things, and we know exactly what we want to do with them. They're very straightforward transactions. So if we then go to create bank rule, Xero will automatically bring up some options for us. So there are 3 different types of rule. So we've got spend money, receive money, and the transfer. This was a spend. This was money out in the bank statement. So it's Xero's automatically said, "Oh, okay, this is spend money." There are 2 different ways of applying the conditions, the rules within the rule. We have any conditions match and all conditions match. Now, Xero automatically defaults to any, which is slightly irritating because that's very rarely the one you want to use. Mostly, you're probably going to want to use all conditions, because if we just left it as any here, now we've got 2 conditions within here. So we've got the name of the bank, and then we've got what it is, so the fee. If we left it as any, then if say we had a Stripe fee come through, if that had fee in the description, then it would be applying this rule, which isn't what we would want. We only want it applying when it's from Ridgeway. So yeah, make sure that if you've got multiple conditions, you're clicking the all there. Yeah, and I think when you're so we can then set the contact. So sorry, let's just do this one. Oh, this is where we learn I can't type. There we go. And we do bank fee. And then we can set the reference. So we have some options here. So during bank reconciliation is where you will need to enter something manually. So Xero will apply the rule, but you won't just be able to click the OK button. You'll have to enter something manually yourself. Now, this can be quite useful when you're just starting out with rules, just until you're really comfortable that it's working exactly how you want them to. Do be aware, though, that if you are using bank reconciliation bots, then not all of them will be able to handle that with bank rules. It might be that you, like Otto, for example, will reconcile rules that do not require any manual input at reconciliation stage. So just bear that in mind. We can just have for this one, we'll just have the description as the reference there, and then personally within our practice, we like to have a naming structure. So we always have the bank name first, and then what it is. Change that. Obviously, you can have whatever naming structure you like. It's just when we then look at the list of rules, it's just easy for us to then be able to see, well, what applies to what bank. So if we save that, and then we go back into the bank rec, and you can now see that it has automatically applied that rule to that statement line. So we can now click OK, and then there it goes. So if we then go to, that works. Okay, so if we go into the list of bank rules, you can see that we've got some spend money, some receive ones, and transfer as well. The thing to remember with rules is that Xero goes through them in order. So it's the first match that wins. So this means that you can use them. You can use the order to kind of try and apply a bit of logic to the rules. So one example of this that we use it for is payments to Stripe. So we have quite a few clients who sell online courses. And so we need to be able to differentiate between their customers who are in the UK and who are outside of the UK. And so we have set our rules up so that the most restrictive rule is at the top. So in our case, we have rules set up that is looking for the card country being GB, and then it's applying a rule to all of those. And then we have almost the same rule, but without the GB. And then so that's picking up the people who are from outside of the UK. So yes, so it's in a different program, you might have like is not, whereas you can't have that within Xero, but you can still achieve that in a slightly different way by using the ordering of things. One key thing to keep in mind when you're working with rules is ensuring that the rules aren't too broad, and so that we're only reconciling what we want. So like I said, with the bank fees one, we wouldn't want just to say or description of fee, because that just isn't that's not specific enough, and we're going to be able, we're going to be picking up far too many things with that. So yeah, it's a bit of trial and error when you first start using rules, but yeah, just making sure that we're only picking up exactly what we want to. So so hopefully that has been a useful introduction to rules. I think what you will find is that once you start using a few, you'll suddenly start to see all sorts of different opportunities for rules. And yeah, if you have clients who do sell through Stripe or PayPal, anything like that, we find rules particularly useful for those clients. But even outside of that, salaries, dividends, rent, bank fees, anything that is happening regularly where you don't get to get any paperwork, they're a great tool to have with that. And while you still need to click the OK button and you still need to reconcile, it's just speeding up that whole reconciliation process for you. So so that is bank rules, and I'll hand over to Yuri for to see what we can do in Apron.
Thank you, Emma. Okay. Thank you, Emma. So, thank you for the introduction to the bank rules. I think as I understand, that's where the main benefit is for such transactions which do not have a paperwork involved, and you can basically just automate the categorization in Xero right away. Where the Apron comes in the whole bookkeeping and automation process is where you actually have the paperwork which you are getting from your clients, so you're submitting yourself. And what you want to do is you want to process it and get it into the system, get it into the ledger, Xero QuickBooks, as fast and as accurate as possible. And with Apron, you can do that. We have several tools which should allow you to, first of all, improve the quality of the data, how we process it, and second, improve the speed of documents getting into the system automatically. So let me share my screen. I'll walk you through Apron quickly, and specifically focusing on some of the automation you can do in Apron. So let me try to share my screen, and you should be. Yeah, it's already on stage, as I understand. Great. So let me walk you through Apron. As I mentioned, Apron is all things spend management tool. So what you can do, you can pay your suppliers, you can pay payroll payments, and quite soon we're also introducing expense management and reimbursement process and cards. I won't be focusing on that during this webinar. We're focusing on the bookkeeping automation. So as you can see, I'm now within my company in Apron. I have a pay section, and I have the bookkeeping section. So bookkeeping section is what we're going to focus on today. You can submit documents in a couple of folders. You can submit purchase documents and sales documents. We find that more than 90% of documents typically purchase documents, because that's where most of the clients need some paperwork processing, while sales documents are mostly being already created either in Xero or in systems connected to Xero QuickBooks. But you can still do that if you have some clients doing their manual sales invoices as well. And we have the transactions here as well. This is more for chasing your clients. We'll cover it in detail here, but I'll share some context where you can see how it works in more detail on our website. So yeah, here I'll start with the purchases, and basically it's a kind of brand new company. I added it to Apron, I connected to Xero, and nothing's here in Inbox. And I want to show how the kind of processing of documents is going to look like, how fast it is to get into the Xero, so you can then reconcile them later on, and that's what Emma is going to cover in the second part of the webinar, the automatic reconciliation. So to get documents into the system, I have some examples here in my desktop, but just want to cover how you can do it. Obviously, getting the documents into the system is the first part of bookkeeping, right? Making sure you actually have all the necessary documents, and ideally you can automate this process as well. So for that, in Apron, you have 4 ways to submit them. You can just drag and drop, which I'm going to do now. You can send them to the dedicated email address, which you can also give it to your clients to send. With the UI, with the drag and drop, obviously there are not that much automation, but with email, what we found is quite a lot of clients can benefit from some kind of auto forwarding rules in the inboxes, in the Gmail or Outlook, and you can set up some basic heuristics on how to do it. We also have an article on our website on how to do it. And if you or your clients receive invoices quite often to your mailboxes, you can just apply an auto forwarding rule, and they will be forwarded to your Apron inbox automatically. And quite soon, I think in Q2 this year or end of Q1, we're going to introduce the automatic connection to your inbox, and we'll basically scrap your inbox to see for the relevant documents and just pull it automatically to Apron. And then obviously sometimes mostly your clients would have some receipts which they will receive in physical form, maybe on the go, and for that you also have mobile app and WhatsApp to submit to Apron. So you can either, if you're on the go, you have a printed invoice, you can just scan it with our mobile app, or drop it to our WhatsApp contact, and it will appear here as well. So yeah, the uploaded document is the first part of the bookkeeping. Let me just do it here. I have a bunch of documents, so I'll upload a couple of them, and maybe these ones. And yeah, let's see how they're going to be processed. These are some actual invoice and receipts we got as Apron. So yeah, one is from Intuit. I guess it's a QuickBooks subscriptions, which is kind of funny considering that I'm going to post it to Xero. But in any case, yeah. So once they uploaded, they are processed pretty fast. And the only thing you need to do, you need to open the document, take a look, make sure that the details are correct. We also would suggest a description if you'd like to add additional description. That's kind of a summarization done by our AI model. And then once you're happy with the recognition and what we process from here, you can publish it to Xero. Obviously, if some things are missing, such as category, which is typically missing for first-time suppliers, you can apply it as well. And that's good, and that's what you can do. And that's, I think, most of the documents have been processed this way, but there are ways to automate this process a bit. So the first step is what we call is supplier rules. It's a familiar concept with any invoice capture software and Xero as well. Supplier rules or supplier defaults. And basically, it's a good way to automate categorization and processing of the documents from repeating suppliers. So if you, for example, get a recurring invoice from QuickBooks, here, I get this invoice basically every month. I don't really want to go in and check the details and like apply. Like we will remember category, but I'm kind of know that every invoice to QuickBooks will go to, like, let's say software category, and it should be like 20% VAT. So what I can do is I can just go ahead and set supplier rules for this supplier for Intuit, and most likely it will go to software. I don't probably care about the due date because it's a receipt, so it just will be the same. I know it's in pounds, so I also won't really care about that. And then just to make sure that the tax is captured correctly, I can also assign like VAT to this supplier. And in Xero, because we're connected to Xero, you can also decide if you want to publish the spend money, for example, if you don't like the concept of bill for receipts. But typically we see that most of the people just publish, everything as bill and then reconcile in Xero, as just easier to do. You don't really need to provide a bank account has been spent from, etc. So I would say we typically see that category and tax rate are the most common supplier rules people use. And yeah, sometimes it's due date as well, but mostly for suppliers for which you actually work on the invoice payment basis. So yeah, I'll just use these two. I'll save. And I can also see that this already has been applied to my other invoice from Intuit. And what it means that next time I'm gonna add another invoice from Intuit, which I have like a couple of more here. They will go to the correct category, VAT code, etc. Instead of me having to either apply or check manually like the details, right? Yes, so as you can see, category and VAT has been applied correctly. I mean, these are simple invoices, so most likely we will just take it from it. But for more complex cases where you want to make sure, you can apply supplier rules as you wish. So yeah, supplier rules are kind of a big part of automation, because it basically ensures that repeating supplier, which you kind of work the same over and over every month, they will be categorized correctly. However, like there are some cases where you probably wouldn't apply supplier rules right away, and this is for the suppliers where you may have a different treatment of what you work with the supplier. So, for example, Amazon, I think, is a good example, because obviously you can buy different things from Amazon, and like here I have a couple of examples. So let me upload it to Apron and see like what are the documents here. Amazon is a good example, I think, because we see that people mostly don't use supplier rules with Amazon. For example, here you have some office essentials from Amazon, and the other invoice is a gift card. So this would go to completely different categories. This one I will probably apply to, I think, like entertainment, most likely, because I know it was bought for some of the clients of Apron. So I would just go to entertainment, and the other one is probably going to like office equipment or office essentials. Or like for simplicity, I'll just put it for like cost of goods sold. But yeah, so Amazon is a good example where you probably wouldn't apply supplier rules, at least for the category. Maybe you apply it for like issue date, due date, etc. But here, yeah, just to be aware that supplier rules are really a good automation tool, but they are not they won't work 100% all the time. And also for suppliers from which you're buying a mixed like a number of goods which are treated in different ways VAT-wise. So sometimes we see suppliers which come with like several line items going to 20% VAT, and then some line items go to 0%. Here again, you would probably be a bit more cautious and like check the suppliers in more detail. But typically, I would say like more than 60-70% of suppliers, as well as we see, can be automated via supplier rules. So yeah, that's the first one. supplier rules. I think quite a useful tool to use. And if you want to push automation a bit further, and for some simple invoices like Intuit, for example, as I showed here, you maybe like processed a couple of invoices from Intuit already via Apron. You are sure that like the recognition is correct, like we put in the correct details, and you have supplier rules in place. The next thing to do is to put it on auto-publish. So if you're comfortable, if you know that's like a simple invoice, you don't really need to review it every month because it's just like the same format. On top of the supplier rules, you can you can put the suppliers on auto-publish, and it's quite a useful tool, considering that again most of the suppliers are repeated and they like have a simple invoices which you don't really need to check, and we would highly recommend using auto-publish for such suppliers. What we see is people sometimes don't really leverage this functionality and do not put a lot of suppliers on auto-publish, even though quite a lot of suppliers would already have supplier rules. So auto-publish work is pretty simple. You put the supplier on the publish, you save, and again, if I upload the next invoice from Intuit, if it's not a duplicate, I think it should be a duplicate, it will be just published to Xero automatically, and you won't need to review it at all in Apron. So let me check what's going to happen. It should be published. Refresh the page. Yeah, so it has been published right away to Xero, and I can open it here and check that it has been published correctly. Yeah, so like Intuit invoice has been published, the attachment and everything. So yeah, quite a useful tool. We see that like quite a lot of accounting practices can benefit from using it more because again, vast majority of invoice going into Xero QuickBooks without any changes, like significantly above 50%. So you can definitely benefit from automating this process and just put repeating suppliers, like especially if it's like a simple invoices from subscriptions or simple receipts which your clients generate on the monthly basis over and over again. Putting them on the auto publish makes a lot of sense, and we would highly encourage to do that. So yeah, that's kind of a quick summary of the automation you can do in Apron for the transactions which actually need some kind of document processing, some kind of receipt capture. And just like a final thing, that you can set up supplier rules either when you're reviewing the document and you just go here and there is like an entry point to open and edit supplier rules, or if you just want to sit down and kind of pre-fill supplier rules before you start processing documents, you would sync your contacts from Xero. Again, like this is a demo company, so just 3 contacts, but in reality, you're going to have more. And you can just go through the contact section and just go and create supplier rules or customer rules as well. Customer rules are for sales invoices, supplier rules are for purchase invoices, and you can just do it here. Also, if you already uploaded a bunch of documents and you only create supplier rules after that, we will like retroactively apply them to existing documents in your inbox as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And now, once you like put things on auto publish, they are flowing through Apron quickly once your client submitted, and they get into Xero. And then from this moment, it's I guess Emma's and WithAuto's turn to do the automatic reconciliation. But before, just like final thing before I give it back to Emma is like a quick list of contacts if you want to check out our website for more details of what Apron can do. And you can also contact myself or our support if you have any questions in terms of like functionality or any specific questions about the supplier rules or auto publish or anything else related to Apron. And here you can also book for a demo if you'd like to get a bit more deep dive into the all things Apron. Right, I think that's it from me.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so I think we've got a few different ways now that we can really streamline how we're getting the information into Xero or or whatever tool we're using. And yeah, I think for me, I'd say that not to think of this as something that you have to get perfect all in one go. It's what we see it as, it's like layers, really. So everything that you add is making it a bit better, and it's improving it over time. And like we started exactly how Yuri has gone through there. So we started with getting documents emailed directly into Apron. We then added on supplier rules, and then we eventually then turned on auto publish. At the beginning, I was a little bit apprehensive about auto publish. Stuart was much more into it than I was, but yeah, gradually over time, just started turning that on for more and more suppliers, and now quite a lot of our documents for clients are dealt with either with supplier rules or a combination of supplier rules and auto publish. So it really does help, and then because then you're just clearing what you need to, so what actually is going to require your expertise, your knowledge of the client. It's making sure that that's the time, that's what you're spending your time on, not the more basic tasks things. And I think with automation and streamlining anything, it's never going to be complete. It is about making those small changes over time, and it's something that you're constantly improving. You'll see little things. So yeah, you might take on a client, say, oh, they've got quite a few bank charges, like maybe they have a lot of non-stone transaction fees, for example. Is that, oh, well, I can use a rule for that, and you might not think of that as streamlining your process, but that's one small step that you've taken that is actually going to have a big impact on how you work. So yeah, as I said before, our practice is quite tech forward. We were already pretty heavily automated, I'd say, and we were looking last year at how we could add something else to it. So we were utilising what is kind of out of the box and Xero as much as possible with rules. We were utilising Apron as much as we could, but we still felt that there was something missing from the process. So something that is quite a recent development in our industry is automated bank reconciliation, or you might hear it called bank records. So we started having a look to see what was out there. We found that what was available did not work quite how we wanted it to. So we built our own, and that is how Otto was born. If you could just share my screen, please, Yuri.
Sure, let me do that. Yeah.
So yes, I think we all know, and hopefully agree, that bank reconciliation is what underpins the whole bookkeeping process. So actually, we've all had to unpick at least one. That was a bit of a mess, and if the bank rec isn't right, then it's highly unlikely anything else will be. But it's also a task that can be really repetitive, which also makes it perfect for automation. So automated bank reconciliation, it just means using bots. These are normally powered either by AI, machine learning, or rule-based algorithms. And I think one thing to kind of keep in mind when thinking about bringing on a bot is we think it's important to think of them as you would a member of staff. So you would carefully consider that person before you employed them, and then you would review on an ongoing basis what was happening. So it's not about checking every single thing, but it's having a certain level of oversight of what is going on. You need to know what they're doing, essentially. These bots are most likely only they're most useful at helping you reconcile the more simple transactions. So certainly our view of this is that these aren't replacements for bookkeepers. They're tools, and they are tools to help us automate the more straightforward tasks, so that then our time and effort is spent on those tasks that really do require us. They require our knowledge, our expertise, our training. They require our knowledge of the client, and that's then where we can really concentrate on our effort there. So we see them as kind of like junior members of staff almost. So if you think of what you would give a junior level bookkeeper, they're the sort of tasks that are really good for a bot. So with Otto, so Otto is a bank reconciliation bot that currently works with Xero. QuickBooks is coming later this year, and Otto does two main things with bank reconciliation. So he reconciles bank rules. So when we went through those before, he reconciles those straight away. So no further. There's nothing further required. No training. If you have set the rule up, we say, yeah, a human has decided that this is okay. So Otto can then go and reconcile all those. And then the other part he does is the green matches that Xero suggests with the find and match. So, but we all know that those suggestions aren't always accurate. And there are it often suggests multiple different matches. So while there needs to be a green match there in the first place, Otto doesn't just assume that they are correct. This is then when something called smart match comes into effect. So with bank rules, as I say, we're just reconciling these as they are. This bottom example is what I was talking about before, about needing to having rules where you have to manually enter something at reconciliation stage. So for this one, we don't have a contact name. So we would have to a human would need to enter that. So that is something that Otto wouldn't be able to reconcile. But we can look at the top one where the contact name has been part of the rule, and there's the OK button, so Otto can just go straight ahead and reconcile those. No judgment is needed from that. Smart Match. So as I said, this is our intelligent matching system. So this is powered by machine learning, and that means that Otto looks for patterns in how you've previously reconciled transactions, and uses those to make decisions. So that means that the details on the bank statement don't need to be a perfect match for the invoice or the bill. So, for example, as humans, we know that if we see GGL on the bank statement, that will match the G Suite invoice that we have. Whereas a computer wouldn't necessarily know that, but Otto will have spotted that pattern too in our previous reconciliations, and so would be able to make a judgment on whether he felt that was a good match. As I said before, Xero sometimes brings up multiple possible matches, and Otto is able to deal with those and is applying the same process. So we'll look at each of the possible matches and make a decision as to which one, if any, are he feels is a good match for that transaction. There are a few things that Otto won't reconcile. So these are part payments, so where we have to click split and split the payment that way. Batch payments, so where we have a number of invoices that have been paid with just one payment, where the bill and statement transactions are in different currencies, and if payment was taken before the issue date. So what you'll see with these four areas where Otto won't reconcile is human input is really needed with these. So particularly with things like payment taken before the issue date, well, that's a fairly unusual thing. So why have we paid before we've received the invoice, for example? So that is where where we feel that a human judgment is required with that. So so with Otto, we prioritize accuracy. So Speed isn't particularly important because you can decide when auto runs, but indirect reconciliations need to be found during a review and then reversed, causing a lot of inconvenience. But anyone can just click the OK button repeatedly, but we all know that that isn't bank rec. So what we really do, we have a big focus on the accuracy, and auto requires 90% confidence. That is, you can amend that confidence, you can increase it, but kind of the default is we say that it needs to be 90% certain that it is a match before it will reconcile. So so you can see that we've gone quite hard on the accuracy level there. We also have a portal. So another thing that was really important to us and kind of harks back to kind of treat Otto as a member of staff is transparency. And so in the portal, you can see what decisions have been made for Smart Match, and you can see how confident or not confident he was that it was a match or not a match. And as well as being able to see that, you can also provide feedback on that as well. And that feedback is really helpful really important in improving Otto over time. So Otto is initially trained on 12 months of existing reconciliation data. So he can reconcile bills and invoices from day one, really, and then retrained on a fortnightly basis. And that retraining also includes the feedback that you've provided through the portal as well. So yeah, although he's already pretty accurate from day one, that's improving. That's improving all of the time as the feedback and other training is incorporated. He works in the same way as a member of staff would. So you manage the access to clients through Xero HQ. So before we don't see it as a replacement for a bookkeeper. It's a tool in much the same way that Apron is a tool to help us get the information in to Xero. This is then a tool to help us manage those more straightforward transactions. Yeah, so our pricing starts from £25 a month. We work on a credit-based system, and you can roll over those credits if you don't use them in a particular month. All features are available at all plan levels. And so yeah, and it's really flexible as well. So within the plan, you can have overage and fixed. So that means if, say, you've selected Plan B, so you have 250 credits, and you've used all of those up, you can decide whether Otto will just stop reconciling at that point. So all you're paying is that £52.50, or you can have it on overage, so that once he's used the credits, he will continue reconciling, and then you just pay for additional credits at that per credit price. So we offer a completely unlimited 1-month trial, so you can see how it would work in your practice. Some people use it for in different ways. So some people use it only for bank rules. Others are using it just for the Smart Match feature. Others again are using it as a mixture, and some are using it mixture, and it will depend on the client type. So we have some clients that we use it almost all only for bank rules, because that's just the nature of that kind of client. And then we have other clients that we just can't really use rules very much. So we're using Smart Match much more within that. So if you would like to find out more about how Otto can work for you, if you scan that QR code, that will take you to a page to book in with either myself or Stuart, and we will be able to go through any questions that you have and get you started on a trial. So yeah, so we've discussed a few ways during the last 45 minutes on how you can automate more of what you do. As I said before, you don't have to do all of them, but I think even implementing just one thing that you've learned from today will really help transform your business. And then start being able to add more and more onto things as well. As I said, we're not necessarily aiming for a completely automated practice like by the end of today, but what we are aiming for is those small improvements over time. So yeah, Yuri shared before the contact details for Apron if you want to get in touch to find out how you can get more out of Apron. Say scan the QR code there if you want to find out more about Otto. And yeah, I think we will have a look through the questions. I see that Stuart and Yuri have already been answering some of the questions. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about what we've covered today, yeah, please do pop those in the chat.